test. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is Jen Beer, and you're listening to My Alien Life.
Where are you calling from?
I'm in Montana. Montana. Yeah, it's
nice.
like the North Pole.
Big
right
sky.
Now. Yeah, big sky country, North Pole. It's terribly cold. Yeah,
terribly cold
for this time of year. Although I posted on Facebook last year and same weather, so I don't know. Our nice season is getting shorter and shorter every year. So.
That's too bad.
How are you?
I'm really good, thanks. We're getting some. You know, for us, it's fall weather. You'll laugh because it's 70 or 65, and at night it's 50, so we're freezing.
Yeah, but you have your own problems there. There's the part of the state's burning up, and it's a mess.
It's a mess. It's a mess, and then the COVID numbers, and I don't know what's going on. How is it in Montana?
Yeah, it's getting bad. It's
it is?
Oh, it's doubling. I mean, every day it's like doubling. Yeah, it's that's because everybody came here to get away from it. And,
that's it, and they went out and they infected everybody.
Yeah. But
yeah,
that's kind of been the story. You see more out of state license plates than you see Montana plates. California,
really?
Texas, Florida. Yeah, it's real strange. You meet a lot of different people that. You know, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have gotten to meet a few of those people, but it's very, very strange to have them here. But I mean, we're booming. I mean, more things are happening now. There's more building. There's more. Everything's full. You know, typically we would drop off about a month ago, and everybody would go home, and it's crazy. There's a lot of people here.
No, that's too bad in a way.
But you said. Yeah, we just had the 35th anniversary of Friday the 13th, The New Beginning, which shares an anniversary now with COVID-19, The New Beginning, which was in March. That's crazy.
Oh, how great! Boy, are you clever! I
was being topical, but anyway.
That's fantastic. I never thought of it. We share that anniversary.
Yeah.
It's a dubious anniversary.
Yeah, it's a dubious anniversary. But Melanie Kinnaman is here, and Melanie, I want to talk about a lot of stuff, but I'm trying not to ask you the same questions that you've heard for a couple of decades, and we'll try to do that. There's more to you, but it's Halloween, so ultimately we have to talk about Friday the 13th a little bit. I love Halloween, and right now I have a 14-year-old, and I don't think I'm trick-or-treating this year for the first time since 2001. Isn't that crazy?
It is. Oh, God, it's another fallout from COVID-19 that we missed trick-or-treating.
Yeah, and... but I don't think I can get my 14-year-old to go with me this year. I don't think, I have an older guy. He's 24. He won't go with me either.
No, he's the smart one. Yeah. He said, no, I don't think so.
And I have a daughter. She's 20, and I know she's.
Oh, they're all smarter.
Yeah, but I hope this year they stay in because for the first time, it's not a good place to be out this time of year and for what's happening.
It's all been canceled. It's all been canceled here in Los Angeles.
So what's it like there right now? I mean, I know what it's like here, but I mean, you have a lot of population there, and it's a lot harder to take care of millions of people than it is 1 million in an area that's huge as we are.
Yeah, it's very populated, although some people are leaving, which is kind of sad to watch this mass exodus. They're leaving the big cities. I have friends in New York who say that they're also leaving New York. So I have seen the neighborhoods dwindle a little bit, but we're still, as a city, very populated, and people are trying to do their best. Everyone is masked up because it's mandatory now.
Good.
And people are moving about, trying to be very careful. So, because we're trying to, we're trying to keep the numbers down. We were doing really well, and then with all the protests we've had in the last few months with Black Lives Matter and others,
Right.
Bringing that many people. At one intersection, there were 50,000 people, and a lot weren't wearing masks. So I think that extended the problem, because our numbers were really good, and now they're up. So
right. You know,
that's just my theory.
It's really weird because, you know, anytime now I wake up and I have a scratchy throat or anything, it's, you know, it's...
You're worried.
I know you're worried, but then, you know, even like this morning, I didn't feel great, and it was hard getting up, and I'm not as worried as I once was, you know, so I don't know what that really means, you know.
No, I write it off, but I'm dreading that seasonal cold I get once a year.
Right.
I get sick once a year, and it's a cold, and it's right around this time. So I thought, oh no, when that hits, oh no, I'm going to have to rush in and get a test just to make sure.
They have them at Costco now.
Oh, they do? Well,
yeah. It takes like 3 days. I think they're like $149 or something like that.
No, it's good to know. Yeah.
But yeah, they have them at Costco. And I'm sure just like everything else, toilet paper and whatever else, they're probably sold out. If they're not sold out of the COVID tests and they are sold out of the toilet paper, I'm going to be really pissed off. Because that wouldn't even make sense.
Again.
Yeah. That's just saying, you know, I don't, you know, maybe I could get COVID, but I don't care enough to get a test, but I don't want to run out of toilet paper. But
exactly. Yeah. We have priorities here. Yeah.
It's a crazy world. But so in the neighborhood, are people out? Do you see people out? I mean, I did see more people out, I think, going for walks and things like that, because I'm not seeing them at movie theaters or anywhere.
No, everything's closed here as far as movie theaters. Gyms are still closed here. So a lot of public things are open, but I do see people walking. I see people in parks. Obviously, stores. People are jamming at stores, you know.
Right.
Anywhere to go at this point. People are looking for places to go. You go to the post office even if you don't have something to mail, just to get out of the house.
Right.
You know.
So is Disneyland open?
No.
It's not. And how long has that been closed? Has it been closed this whole time?
Yes, since March or April, and they've been fighting to reopen, and the governor won't let them. And I think that's a smart move, because how do you social distance? Yeah.
I mean, that's all about not social distancing.
Exactly.
And really, I ask that question because it's honestly one of my favorite places on earth. I've been around to a lot of places and you know, different parts of the world, and I love it there. I mean, it's just the cleanest, coolest place, especially when you got some kids to go with.
And it's fun for everybody.
It is.
You know, and there's something for everybody.
So that disappoints me and makes me sad. You know, it's there's not a lot to do out there, but people are being very creative. And I know, you know, you go online and you see all these artists doing various things and recording, and that's pretty amazing to me that they're able to do that and give it to us for free. I love it. Right.
And they're doing the same here, television. They're doing a lot of different shows, and they're trying to bring the shows back.
There's a lot of stuff out there, and I keep mentioning this too, that, you know, you look at Hulu or Netflix, and there's series and different things that we've never even heard of that are all of a sudden popping up, and some good stuff. So it's kind of a time to reinvent and rediscover. So I hope
that's it.
I hope people are doing that. I'm doing that. And,
I'm doing it too, and I know the people I know are doing it. So it has been a time to figure out what you want to do next, to be very creative about your next move, because you don't know how to make it and in what form you can do it. I mean, I had a one-woman show. I was on stage before this hit, and everything got closed down. And I thought, now what do I do with this show?
Right.
Because I can't perform it live anymore. I can't have an audience. So I figured out other things to do to put into the show for the future when we're back.
Well, and I think keeping in touch with people too. You know, you know, we've turned into a population of people who really live with less than 30-second sound bites. You know, I remember when we first started texting and had cell phones and flip phones, and we became this society that, you know, could hardly even take time to answer, you know, a text from somebody who we hadn't heard from in a long time. And you know, now we just just yearn for that connection, which obviously we can't have.
No.
So,
it gives you free space here to fill.
It does,
and hopefully you fill it with something creative. And a lot of things you're trying things you've never done before.
Right.
You know,
right.
Because you have the space to do it in. So that part has been good. I'm trying to find the positives in it because there haven't been a whole lot.
Yeah.
You know, people are dying, so
they are.
It's hard to be positive.
I like to do these shows from and I was thinking about you because I like to do these shows from a very personal approach and try to connect with each person that I talk to and find some common ground. So I want you to fill in the blanks here because this is something I was thinking about. In 1982, I was in high school. I had a girlfriend who was really into the soap All My Children. Her dad bought a satellite dish, and it was like the satellite dish was about the size of a small subdivision now in some towns. And so about 3 times a week, I would sit and watch All My Children. Prior to that was General Hospital, which exploded in popularity. And I was there in 82, and I watched it until about 1988. And I have such a hard time remembering them both because I get them mixed in my head. But what was happening in General Hospital in 82 was right on the heels of Luke and Laura wedding, and you were there.
Yes.
And it was very popular then.
Yes, it was one of my first jobs in LA because I came out from New York, and it was a whole new thing. General Hospital was the biggest. Well, I think it was the biggest soap at the time, and the cast was so huge. And they brought me in. I auditioned and got the job. And I was playing. I was involved in the whole plot with the Cassadines and the smuggling and Scorpio.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was involved in that. So I was a German spy, and I was smuggling in drugs in the form of diamonds. And my first scene, we were on a yacht, and we were floating. We were sailing from San Pedro, which is a part of Los Angeles, the docks, and we went to Catalina Island. Of course, we were supposed to be in South America,
right?
But it was interesting to go from, first day on the show, and I'm on this yacht. It was John Wayne's yacht, they told me later. And I get seasick. So the entire cast was sick, and I kept popping Dramamine because I'd heard it worked. And it did work.
Nice.
And I remember Tony Geary, who played Luke, said to me, look at the horizon. Keep your eyes on the horizon, and it will stabilize you. And just do the scene, but try not to look up or down because you'll get nauseated. So I tried it, and it worked. But I was also popping Dramamine like Tic Tacs.
Everybody always has, when you're out on some kind of vessel and you're not feeling well, everybody has their own method on how to not get sick on a boat.
Yeah, I was so horrible, and I was so nervous anyway. It was my first day on the show. But I have to say he was right. If you look in the distance and you just stare at the horizon, at the line, the straight line. At the shore is what he said. Look at the shore. Just stay at the base of the shore. Don't look at the water. Don't look up or down. And it worked.
It was, that was about all everybody talked about was General Hospital then. Every cover, you'd go to the grocery store, it was on every cover of everything. And it was quite incredible. And it really, really took daytime TV and made everybody nuts because everybody had to work and they couldn't be at home watching it.
Oh, that's funny.
But it was huge then. And I remember...
It was huge. I remember Rick Springfield walking on the set.
Really?
Now, he was in a different thing. I was doing all the espionage action stuff with the Cassadines and Scorpio. And he was in the hospital stuff playing a doctor.
Right.
But we were all in the same lot. And we all had dressing rooms near each other, so he was walking through the dressing rooms onto the set, and I said, oh my God, that's Rick Springfield. I never worked with him because we had different storylines, as they call it,
Right. I remember when Springfield, his first, I think I can't even remember what his first album was called, but one of my buddies had one of the first Sony Walkmans, and it was big, and it was big, I think it took like 6 batteries, and it all fit in there, and we would listen to that, and we would go on trips, and somebody would get it for a half an hour and somebody else would get it for a half hour. But that was super huge back then. He was big. He was, I was totally surprised later on that he didn't get cast into more TV or movies, just because he was he was so huge then. But but it was a huge shakeup, because things were just moving in so many directions at once, and I think they were putting in. You had like Eddie Murphy and different actors that were huge, and they were putting in music, and I can't remember exactly maybe what Eddie Murphy movie it was, but you had like guys like doing the scores and music, like Harold Faltermeyer and people like that, and music was big that was coming out of
huge
TV,
in
and TV like Magnum PI and
Mike Post, all the Mike Post stuff.
So it was really, really big, and it was really,
all
really
the theme songs.
Some changing going on right there, and it was. I would have to say, it was really a good time in my life when I actually watched TV, and we talked about it all the time. That's at one point in my life when I actually talked about TV with my friends, and we discussed, what we were watching, and like you'd been on Hill Street Blues, and that was very high on our list.
Was my favorite show,
right?
And so to be cast on that was a big deal.
Right.
Oh, they had a great theme song, speaking of music. That theme song, play it now, and you know the show, identify with the show.
Right.
But that cast, and I got to work with Keel Martin, who was at that time one of my favorite actors. So that was a time of some great shows.
Right. And that was a Mike Post
Mike
theme.
Post wrote that theme.
Hill Street Blues,
It was addictive.
Right. Yeah, that was a different kind of show, and the characters on there. I think really,
it was like a feature film. They shot it like a feature film.
Every one of them, Yeah. So and we kind of see that now. They dump a lot of money into TV right now, and it's very high value. But back then, it was brand new. It was cutting edge, and with the music and everything, it just made it, the production just so much bigger than life, and it was a lot of fun.
That was MTM network. They did all that great stuff. So MTM did Hill Street, and I think LA Law. They had a bunch, but there was a certain look to their shows, and they all had theme songs that you could recognize. The theme song was actually a character, It's one of the characters.
Right. Going backwards here, was going to mention again we were talking about General Hospital, and one of the things that, again, I remember people were, these great big satellite dishes were popping up, and then like the first Betamax and VCRs, which were like the size of a refrigerator.
Wow.
And you could actually set them, and you could record stuff. And I remember you could record like 2 hours, 4 hours, or 6 hours on a VHS. And of course, being that they weren't widely available, everybody was recording 6 hours on a VHS. So you'd watch 6 hours of General Hospital, which was we didn't care back then of the quality. It just, as long as you could, get it in front of you, we were amazed that you could record it and reproduce it, and do that. It was, people like now don't really realize, what that was like, and with digital processing and recording and things like that. So it is a big deal. And 1982 is was kind of my year when I was of age and in high school, and things just totally changed, and I think the world changed with me. So yeah. So jump ahead,
memorable.
And now we have thousands of movies at our fingertips. And so it's Halloween. What's a scary movie to you now? And have you watched anything new worth mentioning? What is scary to you? Is there anything scary to you that's available? Are you into horror at all now?
I'll tell you, it's the older stuff. The Exorcist still
that's
terrifies
insane.
me.
Yeah.
The Hitchcock stuff.
Right.
Such a master. Some of Sam Peckinpah, even though it wasn't horror, some of his stuff was horrific. It scared me.
Right.
And Brian De Palma had some, but I have to say the classics: the Hitchcock, Psycho, The Birds. Newer stuff. I mean, there are some great newer stuff that's scary, of course.
Yeah, Psycho was brilliant. Acting was incredible, but The Exorcist too. I remember just totally being shocked by that. I just had no idea anything like that existed back then, and I remember seeing it for the first time, and it was
great acting. The way it was directed. I mean, they had you afraid before you even saw anything.
Right.
Just the going up and seeing the door to that room
right.
was enough to freak you out. So, yeah, to this day, that is one of the scariest movies. It might be my all-time.
And the Mike Oldfield soundtrack to that is incredible. I mean, you hear that and you put that with that movie every time. And I remember hearing that album. My brother, who's 7 years older, and my cousin, who was 8 years older than me, had bought that album, and hearing that for the first time before I even saw the movie, and it was a scary soundtrack, and but amazing stuff, and really, really glad to have lived through that time.
Right, For me, personally, my personal opinion, the newer horror things have way too much graphic violence. I don't need all that. I like the suspense.
Right.
And the imagination, like The Exorcist did. I mean, they did show you a lot, but a lot of it was your imagination before the scene ever happened. So I like that. The newer stuff, starting from all those Saw movies, they're too gruesome for me.
Right.
And it's a taste, it's a preference. Some people like. It's not my thing. I can't watch them.
Right. Yeah.
I couldn't even watch. I can't believe I say this. I could not watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So that's an interesting one to me, and the worst part and the scariest part was the fact that they make you believe during the whole film that there's families like that could exist. And probably do, but I mean, very, very limited, and hopefully that they're not acting out on those.
But just the
ways,
idea of
that,
is enough.
And
I could not watch any of them.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was
the original. Can't watch it.
I'm going to say it's the best, only because
it's the best.
Only because it's really hard to follow up, but it's amazing, and that family dynamic in there and the relationship with those people had with each other was just horrifying in itself. Yeah. So that's disturbing.
Those are tough for me. Those are tough for me to watch. Yeah. So I'm not a big horror fan, to tell you the truth. I'm glad everybody else is.
No, there are lots of them. I think right now, you have guys like Stephen King who put out some stuff that, and his books are amazing, and it's really hard to duplicate that on film. But I love the premise of all these stories that we at least get to see a little glimpse of the book in these stories that are on film, and they're brilliant. He's they're
amazing
so
perfectly
author.
Written.
Yeah. And of course, the movie never does the book justice, but once in a while.
Yeah.
But I had one of the newer things that I'd seen, and it was put on. I think it's been on Netflix since it's about a year now. It's called it's a Spanish movie. It's called El Hoyo, or it translates the hole, and it's a Spanish science fiction horror film, and the guy's name is something like Galder Getzela Urratia, and it's a film set in a large tower, and they call it in the movie vertical self-management center. It's like a prison or something. You don't really know what it is. But you don't know why people are there, why they're being managed there, but its residents are switched. They're on these platforms. It's like a big, tall building, and they're switched every 30 days between the floors. They're fed via a platform, which initially at the top floor, you get a glimpse at the kitchen, and these chefs are preparing these amazing meals, and this elevator lowers down into this building, and the people that are at the top floors get a fixed amount of time to eat whatever they want, and by the time this platform reaches the ground floor, there's no food or whatever else is on this platform, food or leftovers or even worse, and it's amazingly done. The premise is bizarre, and as is a lot of things that we get to see now. But I've turned some people onto that, and they were totally amazed with it. And I was shocked. I thought it was just me, but there's some good films out there, and people are still making horror, and I honestly don't know how that even works these days with so many movies. There's so many platforms that you can watch movies. Netflix they're making their own movies. Hulu is making their own movies. So where does the money come? But I guess on a worldwide market, it's worthwhile putting just about anything out. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Apple TV, yes, Apple. There are so many. Well, of course, Netflix is king. They
right.
buy everything. They have the money to do it, and they do put great product out. There's an exorbitant amount of money spent, but the product that they give us is really high quality.
It's top notch, and I think that
so many things.
I think that with Amazon Prime Video, Amazon is trying to take over everything. I just think they have the resources to do that, and so that'll probably change the face of movies.
Well, yes, and in the pandemic, they've really given us a lot of content.
Right.
I'm afraid for movie theaters. I love going to the theater to see things. I'm afraid for the future of movie theaters because a lot of them are closing down. They can't stay open. And when they do reopen, is everyone going to be just complacently waiting for Netflix and Amazon and all the others to spit out their products?
Right.
I don't know.
Well,
so it does change the experience.
Yeah. One of the remarkable things, and you were a part of it, was a movie with a lot of sequels. And when you think about it, I think it's worth mentioning that these, and specifically, I'm talking about Friday the 13th. It's not stupid people who are putting these 12 movies together. I mean, $10 million is a lot of money, and it's not much of a gamble when you can almost guarantee that you're going to make at least that much, probably a lot more, and you're going to do better than that. But they're making money, and that's the business, is making money. And
Friday the 13th, Part 5, opening weekend made $50 million.
Right.
And I think they paid $6 million to make it.
Right. So
it's a high profit.
It is a high profit, and it's amazing that people can still turn this out and make this happen. But I know that they believe that it'll work. I mean, how many times have you heard of movies now that make it to the box office and end up being in the red? It doesn't happen much because as long as a small population of people come out and check it out, it's going to make money. And in the when we're talking about Friday the 13th, I mean, that's 12 movies, and that's a lot of money and a lot of merchandising and a lot of money over the years. And how many years total since 1978?
I think it was 80 it came out. Maybe they shot it in 79.
The original?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I think the original was released in 80. So it's been many, many, many years, 40, and it's still popular. People are still loyal.
And there's more stuff you can buy online. I heard of people that are making their own versions they're doing scenes from Friday the 13th, remaking them. There's people out there who have made full-length feature-type movies on their own that
Oh, really?
we're basically a sequel, or trying to make a sequel, and
Really?
yeah. So, there's people who spend a lot of time, in that type of hobby. And of course there's a lot of people who dabble in the movie business and in works that we'll never see. But, that's one of those things that there's a fringe out there who do that. And I think it's really interesting that not only do they do that for Friday the 13th, but they were, doing it for other movies. The Godfather, for example, there's a couple on YouTube, and they're very, very well done. There's sequels to The Walking Dead that people have done their own zombie movies. It's like 7 minutes to 15 minutes long, and it's incredible. There's a lot of talent out there, and I don't know when there's going to be a time when we run into a period where there's just too much to watch, but it seems like that now.
It's probably already there. It's already there.
Yeah.
I haven't seen everything. I can't possibly keep up. There's not enough time. The popularity of the franchise Friday the 13th still amazes me. They just released the new Blu-ray box set, and it's sold out. And I did the commentary for it, and I was surprised that they were yet releasing another, box set. And this one is the Blu-ray. And they put a lot of time, effort, money into it. And they said it sold out in pre-sale.
Nice.
So the popularity is still there. And I'm hearing from fans all the time that they received it, they loved it. It's a different way to see it. And with the new added commentary, it made it more interesting.
So I wanted to ask you about that too. You get to travel around and meet with people. What are the fan base like? What are the people like that you get to run into?
I was surprised. It's a cross section of people, from older, who were, young when they came out, to really, really young, and I mean, and some really older, where they must have been the parent that took the kid, or the grandparent that took. So it goes through generations. That shocked me. I didn't expect that, and I meet all ages and all walks of life that are fans of, in my case, Part 5, but the entire franchise.
Right.
So when I was doing it, and the years after doing it, I did not know that it had that popularity, that appeal, and it continues.
Well,
there are new fans.
Right, and I saw it in the theaters at the very first one in the theater when I was a kid, and well, and I saw any of them that were in the theater. I didn't see Jason X in the theater. I saw that later on, but one of the things that I know for sure is the fact that I later on purchased VHS and I repurchased DVDs. I don't have the Blu-ray, but over the years, I probably purchased the first 5 or 6 of them several different times at several different places, and even like just an impulse buy, seeing it somewhere and grabbing it to go home and watch it. The merchandise is out there, and I think it's really interesting to me that worldwide, there's especially places like Japan and Korea, where Asian people love certain types of horror, and they get into that, and you see it online in eBay and international versions of Friday the 13th, and probably bootlegs that appear in Japan, and so when you think about it, there's probably a lot of money being lost there, but it's turning millions and millions of people worldwide, into fans of the show. So, it's very
worldwide.
Cool.
Yeah, I was shocked. I have fans in Italy, and it's like you said, Japan. I was just so surprised that it's worldwide.
So I heard this, and I don't know if it's true. What was casting like? Because I heard that potential cast members were told that it was a movie of a different name. What can you tell me about that?
Well, the working title was Repetition, but
which is funny.
I knew, yes, it is very funny. And they even had signs that you put in the vans that picked us up, the transportation vans that picked us up. Everything said Repetition. if you brought your own car on the set, it had to have the repetition label on the windshield. So it was uniform. I knew, though, I was told when I got cast that it was Friday the 13th. And I knew it was part 5 because I had a friend who was in part 4, so I thought, okay, this has But they told me that it was Friday the 13th. And now, that didn't mean a whole lot to me because I had not seen any of the others. So when I got cast, I went to see part 4. So I knew what I was doing, what to expect. Even though part 5 was different, I at least knew the backstory,
So what did they ask for? I mean, when you were cast, and what was your initial reaction, and what did they ask you? Did they ask you to read for it?
I read for it. First they met me, then I read for it. Frank Mancuso Jr. was there, who was the producer,
nice, yeah.
and Danny Steinman, and the casting people, and some other executives. I don't remember their names offhand. And when I read some scenes, there were different scenes. There was a lot more of a script for me for the character of Pam. There was a lot more character development and backstory about Pam. So I read that stuff, which was never in the film. And then after I did that, they asked me to come back. And on the second time I went back, they asked me to do improv, being murdered. I said, here's the scene. You are being murdered. Go. So I did it. And when I finished, I remember I was on the floor sobbing. And I opened my eyes when I finished the scene and looked up, and the entire room, Frank Mancuso, Danny, everybody, their jaws were wide open. So I thought, well, I guess I've convinced them, or done pretty well.
Nailed it.
And I left, and within an hour I had gotten the call that they wanted me to do the role. So usually you have to wait for days.
It's kind of unusual.
Anything I've ever done, it was a long wait. Sometimes it was 15 callbacks. I was shocked to get the call that night. I think my final audition was about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I think I got the call at 6:30 or 7 p.m.
Wow.
That I got it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to meet the young Corey Feldman who...
Yes,
Did you?
I met Corey, yeah. I met Corey, and I spent time with him. Then we went to a party together, and then I have seen him over the years as an adult, but I knew him as young Corey Feldman,
right. Yeah, he...
but I didn't work with him, but he was around, yeah.
And he got to be, in a couple of movies that
Great.
will go down in history and
great movies.
Be part of moviedom forever. So
great movies.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So
yeah.
I was reading there was the reception of most of the Friday 13 movies were basically the same, but kind of reliable. But notably, one said Part 5 has a glowing endorsement and by Slant Magazine. I don't even know that magazine, but
no, I don't either.
It said that there's more to the plot than usual involving Jason survivor Tommy Jarvis. I'm wondering if the pileup of corpses can be blamed on Jason, a copycat, or himself. But Agatha Christie, this ain't. The tone is crude, raunchy, and leering with kill scenes combined with more nudity than usual. But it's what we're expecting, and I think most importantly, what most people are wanting. I mean, if they ever watched any of the previous Friday the 13th, I mean, it's got to kind of go along with what we expected, and it usually was. Yeah.
No surprise there, right?
No, but it's cool though. I mean, it's part of the deal. There's the hook there. I mean, there's the sounds. When Jason is in the area, and
the music.
Right. That's pretty awesome.
There's always a chase scene.
Right. But people don't get tired of that. So I think it's one of the things in that makes that movie addictive, and it's one of those things and reasons why I would watch it again and again, and I always will. So yeah,
I wonder if people have a different experience when they go to the movie theater to see it and now they see it at home because people purchase and they own the DVDs or the Blu-rays. And is it a different experience seeing it at home?
It is, I know, because I remember, the maybe, I'm going to say 5 out of 12 that I saw in the theaters, a couple of them more than once. There's something you take with you when you leave the theater, because you're in that moment, and then you leave, and it's either light or dark outside, or it's hot or it's cold, and whatever it is, it's
and you're with other people,
right? And it's totally different from the environment of the film, and there's just something in the pit of inside of you, deep in there somewhere, that you walk out with from the movie that you don't at home, and you just don't.
No,
get
you're
that.
in the comfort of home. No,
right.
No, and seeing anything in a group, there are other people around you, and you're hearing their enthusiasm or their reaction. It feeds, your experience, I think.
Right. And I think it's cool that, even at that time, Siskel and Ebert were reviewing movies, and you guys got a Siskel and Ebert review, and that's one of those things that probably is on the cover of the movie, or would, in whatever format you buy it in the future, that will always be on there.
Yeah. And that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is really cool.
That's historic, Siskel and Ebert.
Yeah, and I'm hoping people remember that. But they were part of films for so long, and I can't even imagine how
pop culture. Yeah,
how many movies they watched and reviewed over the years that weren't even on TV, or that weren't in a newspaper, or weren't published, and those guys went out day after day, and that was their life, was screening these films and doing reviews to anybody who would give them a dime to watch it. So
right.
Yeah. So what next for you? I mean, you have sounds like a pretty amazing life in California, and you look great.
Yeah.
And
thanks.
And I don't know what people have planned,
I've been busy. Some of the stuff has been on hold because of COVID.
Yeah.
I am cast to do a Netflix show, which is great. We did the pilot before COVID, and Netflix is interested in the pilot, and they are going to buy it. They bought it, and we're scheduled to shoot 9 episodes. So that was supposed to start now, and it's pushed till January. So I will give you the information on that when we start to shoot it, so I can give you the name and all that.
Cool.
I've also been cast in another film. We're going to shoot that in Atlanta and Vancouver. Vancouver has not allowed us to come in to Canada to shoot because of COVID. So that's also been pushed back to the spring. That project is called Hotel George.
Canadians aren't being allowed here either, so don't feel bad. Don't feel slight.
But they have a lot less number. Their numbers are lower.
They do.
They think we're going to bring it, and I don't blame them. They do not. Only Canadians are allowed to shoot in Canada now. You cannot bring American production there. So
right.
So we may have to shoot this whole thing in Atlanta, and that's holding it up.
You take the blood out of Friday the 13th movies, and that's what most of us wanted at summer camp. I know I did. I actually did 6 summers, and yeah, summer camp was crude, it was raunchy, and it was leering. But thankfully, that was what kept me going. I remember my parents wanting to ship me off for 2 weeks the first time, and I said no way, and I learned a lot in summer camp.
Is summer camp anything like Friday the 13th?
Well, without the blood, yeah. It's raunchy and crude, so yeah.
Is it? Yeah, I've never done it.
Really?
Never done it.
Yeah,
never done it. I never wanted to do it.
I didn't, but and I'm glad I did. I learned a lot.
And where did you go to camp?
This was in Montana on a lake.
Okay.
The rest of those records are sealed, but one of the things that I do remember is the fact that I was a real small town kid. I mean, I was less than 100 people in my town, And
wow.
And I was meeting, girls from, that went to the high schools that had more than 500 or 600 students, and so it was quite a awakening for this young Montana dude back in the 1980s. So it was a lot of fun. But so it was nice to meet you. I want people to go to Facebook and say hi to you, Melanie. And Melanie Kinnaman, thank you so much for being so awesome. Thank you for giving us your time. It's Halloween, and we appreciate you and your history in that scary movie business.
And
thank you so
Halloween
much.
To
Happy
everyone.
Halloween to everyone. So.